They were their Royal Highnesses. They're now just the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and we've exported them, Candace, to you, and they're living happily on the West Coast.
To doing this show.
Because it's you. And to me, that means...
There was like photos with her and Prince Andrew way back in the day when she was like in her early 20s.
There's evidence that suggests that she went on Epstein's yacht at the same time as Prince Andrew.
She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled. She became a, quote, princess.
Meghan Markle's entire career, she never wanted people to know that she was black. She never wore that on her sleeve. She never spoke about her blackness. If we had looked at her, I maybe would have assumed that she was Hispanic. No one would have ever guessed that she was black. It was never relevant to where she wanted to be in her career.
You just can't keep faking it. It's too hard.
There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
You'll make yourself cry. Oh, I can do that so well. Oh my God, it's crazy.
Wasn't there some speculation that she was on Epstein's yacht at one point in time?
Most of Meghan Markle's yacht girl pics have been scrubbed from the internet.
There was a sex tape about her.
And I saw it.
As that was Meghan's dream. Her dream was to be an A-lister, and she was unable to make it to those A-list parties on the basis of her own merit as an actress. You know, she wasn't a very good actress, and so she figured out how to maneuver that by...
Meghan Markle is back in the spotlight once again, and this time, she's trying something a little different. On her latest media appearance, the Duchess of Sussex sat down for what was promoted as her most raw, honest, and unscripted interview yet.
The kids, these email addresses that sort of like names again that you would never guess, that I will give them at some point in their lives when they're older. But before I go to bed almost every night, I email them.
Wow.
I email because it doesn't have to be a heavy lift.
Being unable to just be a human.
I mean, when I listen to Meghan, I am just reminded that there's nothing authentic there.
You're never going to convince anyone that you're authentic.
I'm working so hard. Is she really?
Joining Jamie Kern Lima's podcast in an effort to showcase the most authentic version of herself. The headline promise? No makeup, no filter, no spin, just Meghan, the real Meghan. But if there's one thing the internet has learned about Meghan Markle, it's that nothing in her world is ever truly unscripted.
Meghan Markle has burst into tears in a fake new podcast appearance.
As the episode aired, viewers were met with a tearful Meghan reading emotional letters she claimed to have written to her children, reflecting on motherhood, identity, and finding her voice. She opened up about the struggles of being misunderstood, of navigating life in the public eye, and of what it means to be a woman with purpose. But beneath this surface of vulnerability, many couldn't help but feel that something didn't quite add up. While some listeners applauded her honesty and saw the tears as a brave display of raw emotion,
there isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
You'll make yourself cry. Oh, I can do that so well. Oh my God, it's crazy.
Start these things. They can't keep up. You know, like the Meghan Markles.
But you're the same.
You're the same.
Like, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, guys, you don't gotta do this. Please, I'm begging you to stop.
I knew her a bit before she met Harry. She was nothing like that. She didn't speak like that. Her mannerisms weren't like that. This is all fake.
Critics were quick to label it as another carefully curated PR performance, designed less for healing and more for headlines. One of the most talked about elements of the podcast was Meghan's appearance. The no makeup claim quickly sparked debate. While she may have toned down her usual glam, skeptics were quick to point out that this stripped down look still appeared meticulously styled, with lighting, angles, and filters doing a lot of the heavy lifting. The supposed authentic presentation was, in many eyes, yet another version of a heavily controlled image. It wasn't long before phrases like strategic vulnerability and manufactured authenticity began trending on social media platforms. And when Meghan began talking, again, about how hard she works, how deeply she feels, and how important it is to her that people see her true self, the reactions grew even more divided. What followed was a wave of online discourse that encapsulates the broader problem with Meghan Markle's public persona.
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
That is so beautiful.
No.
What do you think of them?
They're ridiculous.
She never stops whining.
An exhausting need to be seen as the most hardworking, the most emotional, the most misunderstood woman in the room. It's a pattern that has followed her for years, from royal interviews to brand launches, and one that increasingly comes across as a performance rather than a personal truth. The insistence on being seen as relatable while simultaneously living in luxury, holding royal titles, and signing multi-million-dollar deals is a contradiction that the public is no longer buying wholesale. Take, for example, the now infamous Spotify debacle. Meghan signed a $20 million deal to produce her podcast Archetypes, a project that was meant to challenge stereotypes about women and allow meaningful conversations to flourish. But the end result was anything but groundbreaking. From the start, critics said the show lacked depth, felt overly scripted, and centered Meghan far more than her guests or topics. Rather than exploring broader ideas, the episodes often circled back to Meghan's own experiences.
Your eyes are sparkling right now. Meghan, how are you today? Which, by the way, I just have to say, yes.
Enjoy them.
I forgot to have fun. You're right. You're right.
That 2-hour podcast that I just had to sit through with Jamie Kern Lima, who is also very cut off from the rest of the world.
Her struggles, her pain, her wisdom. The self-referential tone didn't sit well with audiences or Spotify executives. In the end, the partnership fizzled out, with Spotify terminating the deal due to what insiders said was a failure to meet performance benchmarks and a general lack of substance. The pattern continued with her lifestyle brand American Riviera Orchard and the launch of Her With Love, Meghan Netflix cooking series. Both efforts were supposed to reposition Meghan as a wellness icon and domestic goddess, someone who could bake jam in a rustic kitchen while simultaneously being a style and culture tastemaker. But both projects have been plagued with negative reception. Her lifestyle brand faced shipping delays, lack of transparency, and a rollout that many called amateurish. Products weren't delivered on time. The branding felt confusing and overly precious. And Meghan's social media marketing, though touted as personal and heartfelt, read more like it had been generated by a marketing agency trying to engineer warmth. Meanwhile, with Love, Meghan on Netflix was panned by critics across the board. What was supposed to be a wholesome, inviting cooking and lifestyle series turned into a cringe-inducing vanity project. Critics described it as syrupy, smug, and painfully lacking in authenticity. Celebrity chef Jameson Stocks even went on record to call it terrible, going so far as to say Meghan can't cook and that the show was an insult to actual culinary professionals. On Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score tanked within days. IMDb users left hundreds of one-star reviews, calling the show narcissistic, gormless, and a waste of time. Instead of bringing viewers into her world, Meghan seemed to be reinforcing the same image that many have grown tired of, a carefully polished, overly rehearsed brand of faux authenticity. Even the podcast host, Jamie Kern Lima, didn't escape criticism. Many felt her demeanor during the interview was robotic and overly reverent, with softball questions and an exaggerated enthusiasm that came across as scripted. It seemed less like an organic conversation and more like a press junket where every moment was pre-approved. The two women appeared to mirror each other's body language, tone, and sentiment in a way that felt more performative than genuine. Viewers called it uncomfortable and creepy, noting that it felt like watching two actresses act out of friendship rather than actually engage in one. And this raises the bigger question: who is Meghan Markle really trying to be? Is she the misunderstood mother, trying to reclaim her voice? Is she the media mogul, carefully crafting her empire of content and lifestyle? Or is she simply a public figure trapped by her own narrative, a narrative that increasingly relies on pity, overexposure, and emotional manipulation? What many critics agree on is that Meghan seems determined to control every frame of her public image, even if that means sacrificing credibility along the way. One of the most jarring aspects of Meghan's recent media tour is her repeated emphasis on how hard she works. She's spoken about how she personally writes every product caption, composes every newsletter, and plans every detail of her brand. But when these statements are juxtaposed with her immense wealth, the help she surely has behind the scenes, and the luxury lifestyle she lives, it feels out of touch. For many people struggling to balance real jobs, children, and bills, hearing a duchess in Montecito wax poetic about writing Instagram captions feels almost insulting. It paints a picture of someone so disconnected from the average person's reality that no amount of relatability branding can close the gap. And therein lies the central flaw in Meghan Markle's ongoing media strategy. Relatability cannot be manufactured. It cannot be workshopped by PR experts or cultivated through glossy cooking shows and podcast interviews. True authenticity is messy. It's inconsistent. It's vulnerable in ways that aren't always flattering. And most importantly, it cannot coexist with the relentless pursuit of image control. When every appearance is choreographed, every interview is rehearsed, and every tear seems timed for effect, people start to tune out. They begin to question what's real, and what's just another episode in the long-running reality show that is the Sussex brand. To be fair, Meghan Markle does face an unusual level of scrutiny. much of it rooted in complex and sometimes unfair dynamics. But the way she chooses to respond, to weaponize her own image in the pursuit of admiration rather than introspection, only feeds the cycle. Instead of allowing people to see her as human, she seems obsessed with being seen as perfect. Every setback becomes a rebrand, every criticism becomes a media tour, and every emotion becomes a moment to be monetized. At this point, even Meghan's most loyal defenders are starting to feel fatigued. It's not that people don't want to root for her, it's that they're tired of being sold a narrative that never changes. Vulnerability as a brand stops feeling genuine when it's repeated over and over again, always on cue, always in front of the cameras. And as the public grows more media literate, more skeptical, and more emotionally intelligent, these carefully curated moments start to feel more hollow than heartfelt. If Meghan truly wants to change the narrative, it might be time to step away from the microphone and allow people to see her not through scripted monologues and branded launches, but through actions, consistency, and quiet strength. Sometimes, the most authentic thing a person can do is stop talking and start listening. Until then, every interview, every tear, and every new venture will be viewed through the same lens. Is this Meghan being real, or Meghan playing a role?